Hello, welcome to this geography lesson, latitude and longitude. I just want to point out before we start that sometimes longitude is pronounced longitude. I sometimes pronounce it both ways, okay, but same meaning. So again, it could be longitude or longitude, depending on who you're speaking to. Alright, so geographers calculate absolute location, or our exact location, or the exact location of an object, a landform, a body of water, using imaginary lines called latitude and longitude. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about latitude. As you can see, the image over here, these lines are going from east to west, okay, say left to right, I suppose. And these are lines of latitude. So lines that run east to west are the lines that are parallel to each other. The line in the center of the Earth, this imaginary line in the center, is referred to as the equator. And these lines are measured in degrees, alright, with the equator being 0 degrees. Now, the equator separates two halves of the Earth. Okay, the northern half we call the northern hemisphere, and the southern half we call the southern hemisphere. And Thailand is located in the northern hemisphere, as is Canada, as is the United States, whereas Brazil, Australia, South Africa, those are located in the southern hemisphere. The equator, which is at 0 degrees latitude, separates the top half of the Earth, called the northern hemisphere, from the bottom half, called the southern hemisphere. Alright, so north of the equator, the latitudes are between 0 and 90 degrees. South of the equator, latitudes are between 0 and 90 degrees, as you can see here. It's kind of like a protractor, right? We got 0 degrees here, and we can count all the way up to 90 right here. Okay, but we don't go past 90. There's no degrees of there are no degrees of latitude that are past 90. Okay, we can have 90 degrees north, which is the North Pole, and 90 degrees south, which is the South Pole. We don't have anything past that. There's no 91 degrees north or south. Okay, the distance between two consecutive, or 2 degrees of latitude in a row, is called 1 nautical mile, which is equal to 1,852 meters. You do not need to memorize this information about nautical miles. Okay, now let's talk about longitude. Longitude are semicircles which run from the North Pole to the South Pole, as you can see here, the North Pole to the South Pole. They measure how far east or west things are from the prime meridian. So what's the prime meridian? The prime meridian is the line of longitude, which is 0 degrees. Okay, so again, these are measured in degrees. The prime meridian is 0 degrees. This is sometimes called the Greenwich Meridian because it passes through Greenwich, England. Go to Greenwich, England. You can actually, they've indicated on the ground where the prime meridian is. You can kind of stand on both sides of it. Okay. Longitude values east of the prime meridian are from 0 to 180 degrees east. So we go up to 180 degrees, not just 90 degrees. This half of the Earth is called the eastern hemisphere. So again, we've got 2 more hemispheres. The prime meridian cuts the Earth into this way, alright, into east and west. So longitude values west of the prime meridian run from 0 to 180 degrees west. This half of the Earth is called the western hemisphere. So as you can see here, we've got the prime meridian on our map, and we've got the equator. We've got our lines of longitude going up and down. We've got our lines of latitude going left and right. Or another way we can say it is our lines of longitude are going from north to south or south to north, while the lines of latitude go from east to west or west to east. Okay. Our prime meridian right here, which goes through Greenwich, England, cuts the Earth in two, into the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere, whereas the equator cuts the Earth into the northern and southern hemispheres. So, let's say Thailand is simultaneously, or at the same time, inside, or a part of the northern and the eastern hemispheres. Okay, whereas my home here in Newfoundland is within the northern and western hemisphere, and down here in South Africa, okay, Johannesburg or Cape Town, those are in the southern and eastern hemispheres. We'll do one more. We'll say Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in the southern and western hemispheres. Okay, and here's just another image here being split up into eastern, western, and southern. Okay, that's it for this lesson.